welcome into another episode of Beyond the Big Ten. This is our Minnesota-Ohio State game preview. Buckeyes and Golden Gophers playing at the Barn on Thursday night, and really excited here. We got a fun group to talk about this one. We've got from the Minnesota side, we got Kendal Shell and Trevor Mbakwe, and we've got Aaron Craft here from the Ohio State side, and got an interesting game here. I feel like you got two teams that played each other 2.5 months ago, and the season has really kind of taken very drastic turns for both sides. And so, I wanted to maybe start with Kendal and Trevor here, who are part of Outside the Barn. For those that haven't watched Minnesota since these teams last played, how different are the Gophers playing compared to 2 months ago?
For me, I think they're playing a lot better. I think the confidence is there. They're playing, they've had some big wins lately, and you can see the confidence growing and the teamwork that's starting to happen within the team. So it's been fun to play some meaningful basketball this time of the year. It's been a couple seasons, so it's enjoyable to be able to do this, and a big game coming up, Ohio State. Obviously, everyone knows about the coaching change that's been going on. So I don't expect Ohio State to come in with any other, other than playing tough and, a Big Ten matchup. But it's been fun. It's been enjoyable to watch this team continue to grow, especially since last time we played Ohio State.
Something happened with our coach, Trevor? What are you talking about?
Oh.
Kidding. Don't go there.
Too soon?
Have they called you up, Aaron, for your job yet?
No. I've had random people kind of seriously tell me to look into it, and I have no desire to get any of that smoke.
Hey, you do everything else for Ohio State anyway, so you might as well.
Staying over here, I'm going to stay on the positive side of the fan base and allow the adults to handle that situation.
Hey, money talks, though.
This is true.
That's true. I agree, Trevor. I agree with what you said about Minnesota. I know last time, Adam, when we played, I think we lost by 10 at your place. And during that time, I hate being Mr. Optimistic, but I think a lot of us felt like the team that, we see today, they could get to that point. But also I think we felt like that a lot last year as well, too. So we just didn't want to say it and get too ahead of ourselves. But we have been playing a lot better. It's a way more confident team. I think they're starting to find their identity a lot more places. On the defensive end, I think they're starting to really lock up. I think they're starting to see that they can stay in a lot of games if just they guard and they defend. And, I think a big difference is some of the guys that have stepped up. I think we see real leaders on the team. I think during that time, Trev, if you remember, we didn't really know who we went to at the end of the game or who was our perimeter scorer, who was our inside scorer. We know now if we need a bucket probably down low, we're getting it to Dawson. If we need somebody to get a bucket on a perimeter, it's probably Cam Christie. So I think, a lot of those things are the major differences that we see from back then till now. So I'm a lot more confident going into this game, one, because personally I never won at Ohio State, so I can't expect any team to go at Ohio State and win, unfortunately. But with this game coming up, now that we're playing them at the Barn, I just know maybe, Aaron, you can talk to it a little bit more. I feel like we play a lot better tomorrow and we're more comfortable, and it's just kind of a quirky place for away teams to come and play. So I'm pretty confident in this next game.
Yeah, honestly, that was the first thing that comes to my mind. Going up, it's just different. It's kind of a unique place that you kind of have to get used to, with the benches a little off the floor, down and off to the side, and it's just a unique venue. And I mean, flying to Minnesota in the middle of February is never the most fun environment from a weather perspective. So,
hey, it's 50 degrees outside right now.
Oh shoot, it's not there. Okay. No, I think it is challenging, and I think if you don't look at our team's road struggles over the last year and a half, I still think it's a really challenging game, and I think, like you said, Minnesota's just playing with a lot more confidence right now, and it shows. I think multiple guys are starting to find their rhythm and their confidence where they feel like they can make some noise in a game. So I think that adds a lot of challenges for us, just in general. But then if you look, Trevor mentioned, we've had a very emotional week of just life here in Columbus, from coach getting fired to figuring out how to regroup to then figuring out some way to beat Purdue at home, where no one was giving us a shot. So it's kind of one of those prime situations where we have this emotional win and you can kind of relax a little bit, or that tendency to relax just as a basketball player. And I think that would be devastating for us to one, lose all the momentum, and two, I think you guys are primed to take advantage of that. So we need to find a way to regroup quickly and kind of keep our foot on the gas instead of going backwards, which I feel like we've kind of done that throughout the year. So,
Kendal, you were talking a minute ago about Minnesota figuring out who to go to late in games and who to go to when they need a bucket. To me, a key matchup in this game goes back to the way that Dawson Garcia just got going against Ohio State in the second half when these teams played earlier this season. That seems like, when I think about a key matchup in this game, how does Ohio State not let him score 50? Does he end up with 36? And I mean, he just, like, they had no answers for him the final 15, 20 minutes of that game. Yeah. What do you guys see as far as that matchup goes, and how pivotal is keeping him in check for Ohio State's chances of coming out of there with a win?
Yeah, I can jump in quick. So, yeah, with Dawson, I think it's huge. He's just kind of slowly coming off an injury, so he's out for a little bit. So that's a big thing just to keep my eye on, just to make sure he's fully 100% healthy and still there. You know, it's pivotal. I think before Dawson got hurt in that game, he had 18 points in the first half of that game. We were up by like 15 or 20. I forgot who we were playing. And he got hurt and didn't play the entire second half. We ended up losing that game by like 10 points. So, like, that is how pivotal he is when it comes to the whole grand scheme of things for our offense. I think it also shows, like, in that game when he wasn't there and he wasn't the one to score, the offense just can become stagnant at times and they really don't know who to go through. So I think it's one of those things where we need to make sure he is involved early, but we also have to make sure we don't rely on him too much because, you know, to the point with you guys, Dawson, when he got it going, we started to close the gap in that first game, but at that point it was just too late. So we just need to make sure other guys are really activated as well. And, you know, figuring out Pharrell Payne is another big that I think complements him pretty well. I think getting him involved really early is important. And then the other guards like Cam Christie and Elijah Hawkins and some of those guys. But yeah, I think it's a lot there. Trev, you can talk a little bit about it, man. You're the big guy on this call here, so talk a little more about what he can do.
Well, Dawson definitely likes playing against Ohio State. We have between last year and this year so far. But, I mean, he's just a tough matchup for a lot of teams. You know, his ability to play inside out. We see when he has it rolling, you know, we're tough to beat. You know, but also, like you said, we have to find other ways outside of Dawson because we can't just count on him to score 30 points. Obviously, we saw what happened versus Iowa last week when, you know, we're winning pretty big and he gets hurt or, you know, he's not able to play anymore and then we give up a 15, 20-point lead. But like I said, I think it's been great. We've had some guys who've been able to step up, you know, with, like you said, Elijah and Cam Christie's playing amazing as a freshman. Hopefully he gets all the accolades he deserves after the season nationally. But I just think, you know, Dawson, he's just a tough matchup. And when he plays the way he's capable of playing, you know, consistently, then, you know, he definitely makes us a tougher threat.
Yeah, most definitely. The matchup I'm excited about, I think, the most is Jamison Battle. Your guy on that side.
Wanted to get to that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, coming back to Minnesota, man. What's your thought? What's your thoughts on that one on your side? I feel like we talk a lot of Jamison. He came from our side. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that one.
Yeah, you know, I mean, obviously he had his best game of the year probably against Minnesota the first time, which is a good sign. I think really easy to let your emotions get the best of you in that kind of situation. But I do know there was a little bit more. There was a little bit more maybe trash talking going on, or just a little bit more antics that he was kind of doing as he was putting on that show. So it'd be interesting to see if and when that comes back to potentially help us or harm us. Is he going to play with the same confidence? Obviously, he's going to have everyone's tickets, and he's going to have, you know, however many people in the stands. So there's a lot of pressure on him, and I think prior to the Purdue game, he really hadn't been playing very well, to be honest. You know, he had missed a lot of shots. He had been kind of a guy the older guy that we were looking to kind of ground us, and he just wasn't doing that until that second half in Purdue. So maybe he found a spark and can continue to build on that. He should be comfortable in the gym. So, but I do know guys are going to be coming after him for sure and wanting to get back after him after that first game. So it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, leading into that Purdue game, he had not done much in about a week and a half, and it wasn't even so much he was missing shots. I think it was 2 of 13 from three, but they just weren't. He wasn't shooting. He just like was almost a non-factor completely offensively, which was strange. He had been so consistently dangerous for Ohio State all year, and then he hit 3 threes in 61 seconds against Purdue the other day, and that just really ignited that second half for Ohio State. And so I'm really curious to see how he comes out, how he builds off of that Purdue game, and yeah, what those emotions do. I mean, I think as a guy who's been around the block a little bit, that probably means he should be a little less susceptible, you would think, to like having a big hiccup because he's playing back home. But then again, maybe he's more susceptible because it's going to be all that more emotional. I don't know, but I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Yeah, and I think something else that's interesting. I mean, that first game, Jameson played well, Bruce played well, Roddy played well. So if you look at those three, they had 80% of our points in that first game. So is that something that's replicable in another game on the road? I'm not too confident in that. So we got to figure out how we're going to be a little bit more balanced and get some other guys involved on the offensive end at least, because kind of counting on three guys to go off and shoot the ball the way they did the first time is probably unlikely on the road, especially with we can't win on the road. So
yeah, it's a big statement game for us. I think every game at this point in the season, it's a big game, especially as you're trying to get, be a better seed, so you're not playing that first day in the Big Ten tournament and trying to work for your bye. And I think this is a big game with all the emotions, with Jameson coming back against a team, which you guys had a big win against Purdue. So this is where, it's a big statement game for us. So I'm excited to see how the guys show up at home on a Thursday night against Ohio State. A bad Ohio State team is still Ohio State at the end of the day.
Go Bucks.
All right. So guys, what do you think for the Minnesota guys, first off, like what Minnesota wins and then what's your prediction?
I say we win if we come out with the right confidence, the right swagger, not coming out, down 15 points to start the game. That tends to happen with us a lot of times. It's not getting off to the right start. But I think if we come in with the right, demeanor, like, hey, build off the Rutgers win that we just have, and we come in and protect our home court, I think we will win. I feel pretty strongly about it, so I feel pretty confident with this group and how they're playing so far.
Yeah. I think if we're clearly the more aggressive team, like you said, Trev, sometimes they come out just too lax. But like it's so easy to get the crowd on your side. So if they just come out more aggressive, get the crowd on their side, keep the turnovers down. They've been winning a turnover battle a lot more. That's never really happened the last few years. So just keeping turnovers down, winning a turnover battle, and then points in the paint. I think that's been big for them. Just getting the scoring down there with Pharrell, with Dawson. I think. Not settling for as many threes and just kind of getting in there, it opens it up for them. So also those are the main things. And my prediction also, I think we win. I think in confidence, I'm saying like around it's not a lot. I think like 5 or 6 points. It's going to be one of those things where we're going to see a lot of lead changes, but I'm going to give it 5 or 6 points. I think the home court gets us. It's going to be tough though, because I know you guys are coming off that Purdue win. So it's like, you haven't won an away game, I don't think, in conference, but also that Purdue win is so much, and we're still like, I think the tape is still to be told on the Gophers right now too. So anything can happen at the same time. So it's like I'm going to predict 4 or 5 points, but it's going to be a close one. I think we come out with the W.
Kendall, we actually haven't won in over 400 days in the Big Ten on the road, so I just want to make sure we have that fact out there.
It'll be a school record if they lose this one for longest road losing streak in Ohio State history. It'd be 17 straight games.
Wow.
January 1st, 2023.
We got to win.
I think for us, I mean, man, you'd think. I think for us, how we win if we can manage our emotions. Like I said, I think finding out a way to stay even keel, not getting too high, not getting too low. And I think that starts at the beginning of the game, and I think it also runs throughout the game as Minnesota goes on runs and gets the crowd into it. I think we've had a tendency in the past to really kind of downtrend when those things happen. When a team makes a run and the crowd's into it, and we miss a couple of shots, it tends to just really snowball hard on us. So if we can find a way to manage our emotions and just continue to truck forward with our heads down, I like that. And then we have to make shots. We got to have a couple guys just come out and make some shots for us, because when we're not, it's tough for us to score unless, Bruce is hitting his mid-range jumpers and Roddy is. So the floor is just a lot more spaced if we have guys making shots. I'm not going to come out here and say Minnesota's going to win. So I think we get the win. I think guys have responded well to everything that's happened. I think they keep it going. I think the coaching staff's in a position to continue to stay on them and keep them motivated. I think it's going to be another close one. I think you're right on there, Kendall, on back and forth kind of thing. Who's going to come down towards the end? I think we win it by 4. I think there's going to be a decent amount of points scored. Probably, 80 up in the 80s, 78, 74, something like that. But I think we eke it out, and we all take a big sigh of relief here in Columbus, because that monkey gets off our back.
Who was that last victory against?
It was against Northwestern last season, and it was like, oh man, we played really well.
Yeah.
And then we lost 14-16. So,
I keep thinking with that road stretch that, like, at some point the law of averages just kicks in and just says, like, nobody loses every single game ever. Eventually somebody wins. I keep thinking that's going to happen at some point. I don't know when that's going to be.
Thursday, Adam.
Okay. Well, to your point though, Aaron, about like being even keeled and just like not thinking that the whole season has been turned because you beat Purdue and everything, everything's gravy from here on out. I just want to see if they respond with the level of aggression and like pace that they did play with on Sunday, because it just felt like they had such a good spirit about them in that game, and they played like they were free. They played like they had a load off their back. It might have been the pregame message that was over the scoreboard there right before they tipped off the game. They had an alumnus on the microphone who might have pumped up the crowd a little bit and got things going.
Has been
some guy that people waited in line.
It was a bum, Trevor.
People waited in line to get his autograph before the game. It was a pretty significant line. But no, I think if they could play with that level of aggression that they had and like keep it under control, because obviously you like you said, Aaron, you can't get too high and you can't like let that take over how you want to play. But if they can manage that stuff, I do think at some point the law of averages kicks in. We'll see. I don't know. And I do wonder about like, can they get a few more stops than they did last time? Because the way Minnesota closed that game made me think it's going to be dicey when they have to go there. Like Dawson has something figured out on these guys. So you guys, what do you like when you sit down and get ready to watch a matchup like this? You guys have been in these games. I'm sitting up in the press box trying to, figure out what you guys are doing. But what is it like playing in these games? You guys have any great memories from when Ohio State and Minnesota squared off when you guys were on the court?
Well, I didn't have good memories because I lost every time, but but it was always fun. Like, that's what I love about the Big Ten. Like, every game is big. Like, like you have that chance to play against number 2. Well, Purdue was number 2 at the time, and you go on, and now we have a chance to bounce back Thursday night on the road at Minnesota when, against another team that's playing pretty well. So this is the beauty about sports. They lose a coach and they rally together behind it. And the whole city of Columbus is behind them. And, kind of like us too, we struggled, but like now I feel like the fan base and everyone's kind of, all feeling good. And so I think it's the perfect matchup between both schools. But every time Ohio State comes in or you get a chance to play against the Aaron Crafts and, Sullinger and Leidy and all those big names, it's always a fun battle. And this one, like you said, with Jamison Battle coming back, it's going to be, every time you touch the ball, it's going to be booed. So the energy is going to be there. The environment's going to be, it's going to be really fun.
Man, I got 2 quick memories. Number one, freshman year, they had Blake Hoffarber. I don't know how to say his last name, but knockdown shooter. He had picked the ball up and I had backed up thinking I was outsmarting him to like kind of prevent a pass. And he dotted me in the eye from like the volleyball line. And I got reamed so hard by a coach, acting like I didn't know the scouting report. So that's the first one. And the second one, actually, that same year, I went to down somebody and shouldn't have, and gave him a straight line drive and got Dallas Lauderdale dunked on so viciously hard. up there. So those are my two memories.
No,
it was a left-handed guy. No, it was a left-handed guy, and he was a guard, and I still apologize to Dallas to this day when we talk about Minnesota, because I'm like, my bad, bro. That was 100% my fault. But those are my two memories, and people dressing up as animals. So
I would say at Ohio State, so everybody has those coach meltdowns at like top 2 or 3 that you remember of your coaches. Trevor probably remembers, like, I think at Ohio State was top 2 of Tubby's meltdowns ever. Like, after that loss, I don't know if we lost by 20 or 30 or what it was, but we were all scared to get back on the flight to go back home. Like, it was, we've heard a lot from Tubby, but that one, like, I'm sorry to all the Ohio State staff that had to clean up that locker room after that game. That was one of the craziest things I think I've experienced from a coach during that time. I don't know. Trev was missing screens. Everything was going on. It was a lot, but he was pissed.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to wrap this one up here for all of us here at Beyond the Big Ten. Please follow along. Follow the Big Ten, or Beyond the Big Ten, for weekly updates, episodes, previews like this. We appreciate you all listening and look forward to talking to you all again real soon.